This week, I have been focusing on re-listening to a key book that I'm always referring everyone to read. And I thought, better just refresh myself with it. I want to talk about some of the key learnings that I've picked up on just this week when re-listening to this. Obviously, I have read it, but now just for ease when dropping the kids at school and picking them up, I'm all about convenience. So I do like to, if I'm revisiting a book, is listen to it, because again, you just pick up things that you might not necessarily do when you're reading it first time around. So Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's written in the 1930s. The language is fairly old-fashioned. There's some elements in it that actually are very non-PC now that you definitely could not say in a book. However, the messages within this book are pertinent today, and I think they will be for decades to come. So I thought I'd just jump on now and just share with you some of the key learnings that I've had from this. So the first one is having a defined purpose. A real reason on why you want to be successful. And I've talked about that, I don't know how many times. Your why is what I refer to it as, but in the book, they call it a defined purpose. And then they evolve it, as they're talking about this defined purpose, into a burning desire. They talk about them in quite a lot of detail and the difference between those two elements. Whereas I think most people would just maybe pull them together and say, well, you have a really strong reason to do something, or a real strong desire to achieve something, and therefore that's your purpose. But actually in the book, it really is good at separating out and deep diving into those two elements at the beginning. So the narratives and the stories that they tell about people who have been incredibly successful, like Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie and Edison, there's just a common thread through everything that they talk about and relate to in those stories and in the narratives. He talks about how our thoughts basically can create a reality. Now, to some people, this is actually just a little bit too woo-woo, a little bit too out there to get your head around. If you tell your brain something often enough, it actually starts to believe that to be true. That's scientifically proven. And I think when you understand the power behind affirmations or the subconscious mind and telling yourself something over and over again, and maybe even using the power of visualization. And I know that lots of you use vision boards, for example. It really does just help align things. Now, I don't want to say that if you sit and chant day in, day out, that money will come falling on your lap. That's not how it works. But it is about, having absolute clear faith. And I think they talk about faith a lot in the book. Faith that it's already happened, it's going to happen, there is nothing that's going to stop it from happening. And there was one phrase that was said today that was really interesting when I was just driving along, and it said, lots of people think that knowledge is power, but in actual fact, that is not true. It's knowledge is potential power. And I was like, wow, I've said knowledge is power a lot over the last 13 years, but he's right. In this book, it's about how the type of knowledge is very, very important. And then the planned actions with that knowledge is equally as important. So I guess to simplify it, knowledge and action together can bring you results, but it has to be the right kind of knowledge, and it has to be the right kind of action that's very clear on the outcome that you're trying to achieve. Actually, it's absolutely right, isn't it? That while you can be very, very highly educated in a particular field, that if you don't actually operate in that field, then you probably don't have the practical knowledge behind it. Maybe it's all just theory, for example. He talks about never giving up, having that faith and persistence and never, ever giving up. And again, if you've got that absolute clarity on the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and you believe already that it's going to come, or it's already really happened and it's on its way to being a reality for you, then you wouldn't give up. And far too many people, particularly when investing in property or starting a new business, would potentially find challenges that would allow them to give up probably too quickly. They talk about the narrative of Henry Ford, who was being asked all these really awkward general knowledge questions because he wasn't highly educated in the traditional sense. He wasn't that highly educated, and he basically got tired of all these general knowledge questions that were being thrown to him by a lawyer. And he said, look, at the end of the day, any question that I don't know the answer to, I'm just going to press a buzzer over here and I'm going to find someone that does know the answer to it. So, you don't need to be, the be all and end all of all things when it comes to knowledge, but having a network of people around that does have the knowledge is certainly very, very, very powerful. Those are just my quick learnings, my quick observations of re-listening and revisiting this amazing book here. Like I say, you have to, take a few of the stuff that's said in there with a pinch of salt, particularly around the non-PC, because it was written in a different time in the 1930s, but the lessons in there are pertinent today. And I think that they will be for decades and decades and decades. Have a burning, burning, burning desire. Be very, very clear on what your purpose is and what your outcome is that you're looking to achieve. Make sure that you are believing and have the faith that you're going to achieve it. There has to be no wavering doubts in your mind. And that takes some serious discipline and self-confidence, which, let's face it, all of us lack most of the time, right? I absolutely love that book. It should be your financial Bible. You could literally study one paragraph over and over and over again and take something new from it each time that you visit it. So I highly recommend that book to you if you haven't read it before. You can get modernized versions of it that's a little easier to digest. But I think just dive in there. But yeah, if you're in any doubt whatsoever about which book to get you started to help with your starting your business, starting your portfolio, or scaling it to the next level, maybe you've got hit a bit of a roadblock, then that Think and Grow Rich book, those learnings will really, really help you. Hope you have a great evening, folks. Lovely to see you. Take care.